Hi, welcome to Sefaria. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use our database of publicly available Jewish sources. The Sefaria navigation menu in the upper left-hand corner of the screen will give you the full list of Jewish texts that we offer. The less button will constrain that list a bit, and the more button will give you a list of everything. I can choose whether I want to see this menu in English or in Hebrew, and I think I'll stay in Hebrew for now. And scrolling down, I will select Parshat HaShavua from this list. As you can see, it immediately brings up the text for me in English, but the language controls in the upper right-hand corner of the screen give me the flexibility to see this text in whatever language I choose. So perhaps I'd like to see Parshat Lech Lecha in Hebrew. The text is at the center, and running down the right-hand side of the screen are all of the connected sources. This is any text that is a commentary on these psukim, anything that quotes these psukim, anything that is related in some way. There are 593 sources connected to Breshit Yud Bet, and if I'm thinking that that might be too many sources to go through in a given class or in a given learning session, I can filter those sources. Here, also in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, the filter button allows me to select what it is that I'd like to see. So perhaps I'm going to learn Chumash with Rashi. I can click Commentary and click Rashi. And now I'm viewing just Rashi on the side of the screen and the psukim again in the center. Or I could decide that what I'd actually like to see is, let's say, just where the Talmud quotes from these psukim. So I'll click Talmud. And these are all Talmudic sources now that are running down the side of my screen. Again, I can click here and view a different set of sources or a different comment or just Midrash. I have control over seeing whichever sources I'd like to see on the side of the screen, keeping the central text in the middle. And here's what it looks like with Breshit Rabbah. Any text that you view, you also have the option of seeing basic information about that text. So the About Text button here at the bottom will tell you where we got the text, who put it into Sefaria. You can click for the full history. You can always opt to add another translation. If we already have a translation, you can add your own translation. You can add to our community translation of any text. If the text isn't locked, you can edit it, though most of our complete texts are locked. But you do have that option of adding to any partial text that we have or adding to any partial translations. In addition to the connected sources, we also have source sheets that are connected to any given text on Sefaria. And in my next video, I'll be speaking more about source sheets on Sefaria. But for now, just letting you know that there's this other resource, again at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. 49 source sheets have been made publicly available on Sefaria that deal with this parak in Breshit. So if I want to know what do people teach about when they teach about Parshat Lech Lecha, I can look and scroll down and see what's available on Sefaria for, let's say, inspiration as I contemplate my own teaching on this parak. So scrolling down, you can see we have a lot of different source sheets here. And again, these are all publicly available. So if I click here, I'll immediately see the source sheet. And this source sheet, again, is publicly available and freely reusable. So I could decide that I'd like to use this source sheet for my own purposes. And I can click here to copy the sheet. And that will make my own copy of the sheet, which I can then add to, subtract from, rearrange. Perhaps this source sheet is bilingual. I want my source sheet to be in Hebrew or all in English, and I have that flexibility, again, once I make this source sheet my own. Looking again at our text menu, this time I'll select something from the Talmud, just so that you can get a sense of what that looks like. So here we have brachot, and again, running down the side, we have the connections. Once again, you can choose to filter the connections, so perhaps I might learn simply Gemara with the halachic sources that are connected. I can see that by clicking out here, or I might choose to learn the Gemara with Rashi, and I can see that again by clicking out here. Whenever we have a text that's available in both Hebrew and English, you'll see these language controls here. In this case, brachot is available in both Hebrew and English, so I have that option. And again, the public source sheets are available here. We have a fairly extensive collection of sources on Sefaria, and we're constantly adding. So again, any source that you want to look for, you can look in our categories here, and some are more complete than others. Tanakh, Mishnah, Tosefta, Talmud, those are complete. Midrash and Halacha are fairly extensive, and the others are being built out at a fairly steady pace, and we do take requests if there are texts that you're interested in seeing. Looking at a text on Sefaria also allows you to go beyond this text and do the research that you'd like to be able to do to build out a fuller curriculum. So looking, let's say, at, I'll go back to Parshat Shavua. Now I'm looking again at Parshat Lech Lecha, and I can look at this first pasuk and see what's available. And perhaps I'll decide that I'd like to teach some of these mefarshim, or I'd like to look at, let's say, a halachic source that's connected. So I have a source from the Mishnah Torah. Maybe I'd like to include that as well when I teach. I can go to the Mishnah Torah. Now I have access to this text. But you can see that putting this text in the center brings up a list of connections on the side. So having looked at the Mishnah Torah, I might now want to look at the Kesef Mishnah, and I can continue to go from there. Sefaria allows you to move easily from one connected source to another connected source, and either for the teacher to build out his or her own curriculum, or for students doing research to move easily from text to text. Sefaria will always remind you of where you've been, remind you of where you've come from, and you can easily explore texts and also get back to where you started from. It is also the case that every text that you look at on Sefaria is, again, freely reusable. So if I click on this piece of text, I get a plus menu. And there's a lot of things that I can do with this text. I can share it. I could decide that I want to send it out via Facebook, Twitter, or email. I can add it to a source sheet. Again, more on that in the next video. But simply clicking here will allow me to add the source to any pre-existing source sheet that I have, or to start a new source sheet. I can copy it to the clipboard if I want to copy and paste it into another program. Sefaria isn't optimized for that yet, but you can do it. You can copy and paste into Word or whatever word processor you use. You can add a note to a section on Sefaria, so you can keep your own private notes on Sefaria, either, again, for the teacher, as he or she goes through creating a curriculum, researching sources, you can keep your own notes on Sefaria. Or for students, once you're logged in, you can have your own notes on Sefaria. And it's interesting to think about a student learning a parak or learning a sefer 1 year, and then keeping those notes and having those notes to look back at year after year, or the next time that he or she encounters that source. So keeping notes on Sefaria is part of what we offer now, and is a feature that we hope to build out in the future. You can add a source on Sefaria, so if you know of another connected source that we don't have in our list, you can add that. If the text isn't locked, you can edit it, and you can always add a translation. If we don't have a translation, you can add one, and if we do have a translation, you, your class, your students can add their own. We welcome those kinds of contributions to Sefaria. So those are the basics of using our texts on Sefaria, and I encourage you to play around with that and get comfortable with that. And as I said, the next video will deal with how to create source sheets on Sefaria.